name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
Hello and welcome to Mad About Superheroes Cartoon Showcase. This episode we're going to focus on a more recent entry in the X-Men animated universe as we revisit my favorite episode of X-Men 97, Remember It. Directed by Ami Yanamara and written by series revival creator Bo DeMeo. X-Men 97 picks up not too long after the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series left off. Bo DeMeo does a spectacular job of respecting the original series and creating a genuine, legit continuation of the 90s cartoon. Original series producer Larry Houston and writers Eric and Julia Leewald return as creative consultants. Most of the voice actors from the original series also return to reprise their respective roles. Keeping the architects of the original series involved is really commendable. X-Men 97 is a series revival done extremely well. Though the 1992 series did a great job of adapting mature storylines from the X-Men comics, there was only so much a Saturday morning platform would allow. But X-Men 97 has no such restrictions and pushes it to the limit, but manages to stay in line so it's also accessible to a younger audience as well. Episode 5 of X-Men 97 focuses on the complicated relationship between Gambit and Rogue, amidst the ever-complicated political relationship between humans and mutants. Cyclops lets a news crew into the X-Mansion in an effort to establish a more favorable public image and strengthen mutant-human relations. In a vulnerable moment, Jean confides in Wolverine, her confusion over being not able to determine her memories from Madeline's memories. And she kisses him. Despite the torch he carries for Jean, he advises her to talk to Scott. Jean then discovers that Scott has been communicating with Madeline telepathically, and they have a heated argument, all under the watchful eye of a reporter and her camera crew. Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit travel to Genosha, where the Genosian Council asks Magneto to lead the country. He agrees on the condition that Rogue lead with him. Rogue explains to Gambit that she had a secret romance with Magneto when she was younger. His magnetic field allows her to touch him without absorbing his powers or hurting him. As Rogue considers Magneto's proposal, Gambit is obviously hurt, but assures her they'll always be friends. At a gala celebrating Genosha joining the UN, Rogue kisses Magneto and realizes that she's made a terrible mistake choosing him over Gambit. Suddenly, the time-traveling Cable arrives, and Madeline realizes that he is her son, Nathan. Cable is sent back to the future before he can warn anyone of the incoming danger. An upgraded Master Mold and an army of Sentinels attack Genosha. Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit make a valiant effort to prevent total disaster. The sudden attack results in the death of thousands of mutants. Magneto is killed trying to protect his fellow X-Men, as well as a young Morlock mutant named Leech.
Hab keine Angst.
Omega threat eliminated.
Gambit destroys the mutant-slaying Master Mold, but makes the ultimate sacrifice in doing so.
Mutant intruder neutralized.
The name's Gambit, mon ami. Remember it.
Remy's death leaves Rogue heartbroken. In the 90s, Toy Biz had a line of X-Men action figures that I collected, and of course I had to have a Rogue and Gambit in my collection. Toy Biz previously produced a Marvel Superheroes toy line that features some of the X-Men, but when the relaunch of the X-Men comic series broke industry records selling millions of copies, Toy Biz, which was owned by Marvel at the time, launched a dedicated X-Men action figures line. True to form, X-Men 97 also has a wide variety of toys and action figures to coincide with the release of the series. The lovely and talented Lenora Zen reprises her role as the power thief Rogue, and AJ Lacasio replaces Chris Potter as the Ragin' Cajun Gambit. X-Men 97 has an amazing theme song, originally composed by Haim Saban and Shuki Levy, and is revived by the Newton Brothers. The Remember It episode of X-Men 97 also features the Ace of Base song, Happy Nation, the title track from their 1992 debut album, which was released the same year X-Men the Animated Series debuted on Fox Kids in 1992. The Ace of Base track is a very befitting song choice lyrically, reflecting the sentiment of the mutants migrating to Genosha. Remy LeBeau, Gambit, was created by writer Chris Claremont and artist Jim Lee. Gambit was part of the Thieves Guild before becoming a member of the X-Men. Given his history, few X-Men trusted Gambit when he joined the group, which was consistently a source of stress between him and his on-again, off-again love interest Rogue. This was exacerbated when Gambit's connections to the villain Mr. Sinister were revealed, although some of his team members accept that Gambit is honestly seeking redemption. Gambit and all the X-Men have relatable issues and are just as flawed as anyone else. Despite their imperfections, they are still capable of heroic deeds, as they strive to achieve their mentor Charles Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence between mankind and mutant kind. Rogue also started out as a villain, and had a few run-ins with the X-Men before joining the team in Uncanny X-Men number 171, becoming a bona fide superhero. However, her very first appearance was in Avengers Annual number 10. Rogue was also created by revered X-Men writer Chris Claremont and influential artist Michael Golden. Rogue's ability to absorb others' powers temporarily is her mutant ability, but her ability to fly, her super strength, and invulnerability was absorbed from Carol Danvers' Ms. Marvel, currently known as Captain Marvel. The encounter was nearly fatal for Ms. Marvel. One single touch from Rogue is enough to hospitalize someone, but to hold on for several minutes is not only deadly for the person she touches, it can also result in a permanent transfer of abilities as well as personality traits. Wolverine was always my favorite X-Men because of his tough guy, bad attitude, cool persona. Then along came Gambit and really gave old Wolverine a real run for his money. In X-Men the Animated Series' personal favorite Season 1 two-part episode, Days of Future Past, Gambit's loyalty is called into question by Bishop, a time-traveling mutant from the future. Gambit's shady past is brought up and the X-Men begin to have doubts. But by the end of the episode, it's revealed that the shape-shifting mutant, Mystique, attempted to frame him, and Gambit's innocence is proven. In the Season 2 episode, Externally Yours, Gambit's past is explored by introducing his brother Bobby, who's being held captive by his ex-fiancée Belladonna. Wanting to keep the shady details of his past a secret, Gambit rushes into a deadly situation on his own. But when his fellow X-Men learn of his dilemma, they quickly back him up. This time, Gambit's teammates stand by his heroic deeds with the X-Men rather than judge him by his shady past. In X-Men 97's follow-up episode to Remember It, Episode 6, Bright Eyes, at Gambit's funeral, his brother and ex-Belladonna can be seen in attendance. I remember seeing the first live-action X-Men movie way back in 2000, and really enjoyed it. Even though I didn't care for the costumes, I was genuinely excited to see the X-Men on the big screen. Aside from a few nitpicks, like the costumes, the hardest thing for me to fathom was Rogue getting involved romantically with Iceman, and Gambit wasn't included. It seemed so out of place. Rogue and Gambit belonged together. Eventually, Gambit would appear in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Good casting for Gambit, played by Tyler Kirch. Terrible film, though. A much more comic-accurate Gambit appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine more recently. Good movie, cool costume, terrible casting. Sorry to any Channing Tatum fans. He's not a bad actor, I just don't care for him as a Gambit. Gambit and Magneto's deaths aren't forever, but that doesn't mean these deaths weren't impactful. Quite the contrary. These events unfold in spectacular fashion, and the fact that they aren't resolved immediately within the same episode builds anticipation for their inevitable triumphant returns. Like a phoenix from the ashes, Magneto returns within the next episode, and a tease for the return of Gambit is in the last scene of the season finale.
So much death.
I really enjoy the soap opera type elements of the stories, which date back to the original X-Men 92 cartoon series and the X-Men comics. The love triangle between Scott, Jean, and Logan becomes a love square with Madeline in the mix. I like that Wolverine was a good friend to Jean and didn't take advantage of her vulnerable state, although when Jean confronts Scott over his telepathic communications with Madeline, she comes off a bit hypocritical after kissing Wolverine. Scott unloading his true feelings about human-mutant relations on air was a great moment. They shouldn't have to prove themselves after saving the world hundreds of times over. Gambit and Rogue reuniting with Nightcrawler was lots of fun. For anyone in need of a refresher, per the 92 series, Nightcrawler and Rogue share the same mother, kind of. Mystique is Nightcrawler's biological mother, and she's Rogue's adopted mother. Essentially, Nightcrawler and Rogue are brother and sister, sort of. In the 92 series, Cable made quite a few appearances, but it was never revealed that he was Scott's son, so I'm glad they're exploring that here. The complicated romance between Gambit and Rogue in the 90s X-Men comics really touched my heart. They can't have a physical relationship because of Rogue's mutant ability that absorbs the powers and life essence of anyone she touches. The sexual tension makes for some fun interactions between the duo. The relationship between Gambit and Rogue is absolutely endearing. It goes way beyond the physical. And in my opinion, Episode 5 of X-Men 97 gets the Gambit-Rogue romance pitch perfect and plays out in a very tragic Shakespearean love story kind of way. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Cartoon Showcase. Thanks so much for letting your geek flags fly with Mad About Superheroes.